Jesus Freak here. This is basically a zero production values channel. I mean, yeah. It should be obvious. Most of my videos are taken with a mobile phone. I won't say it's a cheap phone. This was a couple $100 used. But for a long time, I was actually running this channel mostly on gifted equipment. At the time I started out, I was using a gifted computer, gifted webcam, gifted cell phone. And gradually started, hell, even my router was gifted at the time. Started replacing everything with stuff I paid my own money for. You could argue about my own money is doing a bit of heavy lifting here. Even with the software that I use to edit stuff, it's just free stuff. It's like, I already have it because I'm using it for fan subbing. It's not meant for what I do with it, but it does the job. And it's just, if you got stuff, you know how to use it, you're comfortable using it, why shell out the price for, say, Adobe Premiere when AVSP does the job just fine? But I'm like, I could put more effort into my videos. A lot of the time, I just don't see the point. If I'm just speaking extemporaneously, it just works best to take the video extemporaneously and just whoop, right up to YouTube. Because there's really no point. There's no need to do any more than that, and it just makes it less real. Even a lot of the stuff I use, which you could say it's, props, a lot of it's props. I'll use things, I don't have to use a physical prayer book for anything. I could just, I have a laptop right here. I'm standing my phone on a laptop to keep it straight. I have a copy of this book on the laptop. So you could say, well, why are you using a physical book? I use it as a prop, and it so happens that what I'm reading, what I'm saying comes out of the book. It's the same thing with all the Bibles. I don't need to use an actual Bible. I can pull KJV right up on the screen behind me, in front of me. But if I'm reading off the screen, that's one thing, but it's just, if I go, If I go like this to start reading, it has more impact. And of course, the impact will vary if I'm using this thing, if I'm using this one, or if I'm using the one in here, because they're all different. The words are the same. They're absolutely the same. I've done videos where I have this 1769 facsimile. Thing's humongous. It's the biggest Bible I've got. Sometimes I use that in my videos. Or I've got a couple royal rubies that show up in my videos sometimes. The smallest Bibles I got. I'm using them more as props than I am as... But they are what they are, I'm using them for what they are. They just happen to be props for me. And I used to do the Sunday morning videos in one take. To some extent, I still do sometimes. Whatever I do, I cut it into pieces and then put it back together. The earliest ones were just one take. And then I just add the text. I figured that having the on-screen text would let people follow along. And then I started adding to it, When I started out, I just read a collect out of here, and then I took the Psalter reading and the 3 regular readings from the Revised Common Lectionary, which is still what I do, although I've basically got into the habit of having like a chart that I use instead. And then later I started adding music. It's like, well, why do it? Why not do it? It's one of the few things I can do. I can show off some of my interests and glorify God in the process. And I know I don't have much in the way of talent. When you're doing what I'm doing, you don't need talent. Honestly, you don't need much more than just this phone. I started out, my phone wasn't really good enough to use for a camera like this. I did it anyway, but it really didn't work very well. sometimes I'm like, why do I bother? I want to do this. What I get out of it by having people watch my videos and comment, secondary. I mean, the numbers inch upward slowly. Once in a while, I'll have someone come in from somewhere else, like Discord or wherever. They'll come in from one of the channels. The couple channels I used to appear on once in a while. Couple channels, when I know they got a premiere or a live stream going, I'll be there in the chat. Being more or less myself. More, less, more. So it's like, every so often someone will find me. And hopefully they find what I'm trying to put out. Someone who's weird, eccentric, but genuine. And if some of my stuff isn't to their taste, well, there's other stuff. And, the YouTube algorithm is murder to people like me. But I'm not a slave to the algorithm because I don't need the money for anything. So, I don't monetize the channel right now. I probably won't. Like, why would I? It wouldn't benefit me any, really. I'm only halfway there to being able to do so in the first place, but I think even if I got that far, I wouldn't do it. I survive off disability checks. I don't currently need to rely on more than that. Given the way things are going at a federal level, who knows? I might need to rely on more than that. Right now, I don't. Anyway, Jesus freak out.